We sit down to do the 7 o'clock talk, and Libby immediately comes in and wants all the attention. Well, tonight we're going to talk about why we do what we do, kind of how we do it, and the reason why we do it the way we do it, and then why functional medicine fails. And actually, I think I'll turn the floor over to you and let you talk about why functional medicine fails, because you do that very elegantly. So this is why functional medicine fails.
To tell you how we feel it fails is because it's kind of the way we used to do things. And so we are very passionate about functional medicine and the lifestyle that goes with it. But we had a lot of people coming in, and it can be pricey. It can be expensive. But so can prescriptions, and so can specialists, and so can all the other things.
Well, and drawing it out, because if you...
Well, I'm getting there. Let me finish my thought process. So we would have people come in, and instead of following a guideline or timeline, they just wanted to get right to the point of what they thought it was, and they just wanted specific things. So then when we started out, we would do that because we wanted to make people happy. But then they never really got happy, because although they would feel better and we would address a specific, we were only addressing a specific. So it was nothing different than addressing a symptom. And basically, if you went to your MD, you'd get a prescription and you would address that symptom. So we weren't really getting the results that we wanted. And so we sat down and looked at it as why. And so for me, I'm like, this isn't how we should be doing this, because we have a person in front of us with issues that are complex, but we're only addressing whatever it is they want to address. And so would they get better? Yes. Would they stay better? No, because we were only addressing a portion of what was going on. And so then we decided, how can we do this better? So we did upset people, but we looked at how can we look at the whole person all at once and understand what's going on at a basement level, so that we could build and actually change the whole person. And so that's where we came up with the omics, the GI map, and the Dutch Plus. So we are looking at hormones and energy, and we're looking at the gut biome, and we're looking at the organic acids and how you're utilizing the things that you're putting in your body. And so each one of those stack on top of each other, and some overlap just a tiny bit. But when you look at that as a whole, you get a beautiful picture of what's going on in one person's body at that time. And so then we use that as our guideline to addressing an individual's needs. Most of the time they come in because they're tired, they feel bad, they hurt, they can't sleep, they are overweight, and they don't know what to do about it. And so later on, I'm very passionate about hormones. And as I was looking through case studies, there was one thing that everybody was complaining of, but we weren't addressing. And that was hormones. And whether they were complaining of hormones or complaining of the symptoms of having problems with their hormones, it's still one and the same. Hormones was a key. And so we decided, or at least I decided, we were going to address hormones. So we start there. We always start at hormones. So everybody that comes in has an imbalance in their hormones, whether that be their sexual hormones, their thyroid hormone, their adrenals, whatever that is. Hormones are a big deal. And so we start there, they feel better, they get more energy. And then when we get them to feel a little better, then we start addressing the gut. Then we start addressing toxicity issues and things like that.
And so what she says is kind of like where the majority of patients that we see are chiropractic patients. And so if somebody comes in with low back pain and they say, hey, I got low back pain, but I didn't have an injury, I didn't have back pain when I was younger, this all just kind of started. Tell me how that happens. And so we see where when people have deficiencies in hormones, you have joint pain. So that's how all of this ties together. So chiropractic patients, we have slowly over time said, hey, if you're not sleeping, you really need to check your hormones. And we tell people to go to their medical doctors and do stuff. And the medical system doesn't like to deal with what I call the slow burn. So you're slowly circling the drain, but you're not really dropping out the bottom. And so that is that slow decline.
And to give an example of that, it's for men and women, but men get theirs addressed earlier. It's never ignored. When we talk about hormones, usually you start going, most people go to an OBGYN or a practitioner of some sort, but in their 40s and their 50s, or maybe even late 30s, they start slowing down, or they're tired, or they start having specific issues, and then they ask about it. And that's where you get well, you're just coming to that age, and that is a cop-out. It's a cop-out, especially for females, because if a man would walk into the same office, and we've interviewed all kinds of
testosterone
things.
is the rage right now,
Yeah,
too.
so a man would always get his testosterone not necessarily optimized, but brought up to normal. Whereas a female walking into an office, they would just be like, well, you're at that age, things are changing. And that's where we have to start changing the way we look at things. Each person, male or female, should be optimized in their health journey.
And this is truly her passion. She's going to extra schooling for this, digging very deep, more so than a little bit. So she's very passionate about that. And so that's about eliminating people's pain. We do this because we want everybody living their best life, because we know that if we have everybody doing well, and if we ran ourselves out of business on functional medicine, people are productive and they're happy, and our communities are thriving. So we start with ourselves and we start building ourselves up.
And it ends with that. So we treat one person,
mm-hmm.
but you help that person feel better or optimize their lifestyle, and that trickles out to their immediate family members or their partners, which trickle out to theirs. And so you really are changing communities.
And so that's step one. And that's the Dutch test that we do, that we read, that gives us amino acids, or actually gives us neurotransmitters, hormones, and stress levels. And then we start to get in where I'm really passionate about, which is the microbiome and the biochemistry that's happening in the body. How do we make somebody resilient? She's very good at making somebody feel good and feel better and sleep. And she loves hormones. They're complicated. They suck. And she's very good at it. I am very good at looking at the microbiome and giving that person resiliency. So they're not going to go right back to where they were. And that's the whole idea. When I have chiropractic patients that keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. And some of my chiropractic patients are going to be listening to this. When they keep coming back over and over and over again, what happens to them is that's when we start to say, hey, your hormones are off. Hey, you have something wrong. Hey,
well, we suspect they are.
Yeah.
We won't treat it unless we test it.
Yeah.
That is a big deal in our office.
Yeah. And functional medicine gets such a bad name because they do a lot of tests and then they just treat to the test. We don't only treat to the test, but we treat to the person. And a lot of people, to her example of, let's just take thyroid issues. People have, oh, my thyroid's low. Oh, I'm hypothyroid. Oh, I've got my TSH is high. And that's great. But what a lot of people don't understand is that if you're stressed, then that affects your thyroid. And if your cortisol's high, that affects your thyroid. And if your hormones are off, that affects your thyroid. And if your gut bugs are off, that affects your thyroid. And so it's being able to look at the tests and look at the person, listen to what has happened to the person. We send a lot of people out. We have a lot of other practitioners that we deal with. I'm pretty sure we actually just found a fabulous person to teach people how to eat and how to cook and do it easily and inexpensively.
Yeah, and if you're local, and you have an interest in learning to cook or change your lifestyle, because it's an investment, and if you're not willing to change your lifestyle, then don't invest in it. But if you're to the point where you want to invest in yourself and you're not sure how to cook or what you should be cooking, or
let's put it this way,
if you call the whole kitchen,
my whole kitchen, Kristen, and look her up online too.
Yeah, she's on Instagram, not Facebook, but Instagram, and she has a really neat program.
So let's put it to you this way, because a lot of people think, oh, I eat well, oh, I eat healthy. Oh, if you have weight you can't get rid of, if you have energy issues, if you want to take a nap after you eat, you need to start with something like the My Whole Kitchen. Right off the bat, it gets rid of so much noise. It gets rid of static. So I call when somebody comes in and they've got 9 million symptoms. That's static. Okay, there's a possibility you really have this many things wrong with you, but most likely there's 1 or 2 or 3 very driving forces. And we have so much noise, we can't see it. There's so much static in the television, we can't see it. Or there's too many waves in the water. I don't care what the analogy is. But it's all in the way, not allowing us to see. And My Whole Kitchen and Kirsten brings you to that point of, hey, this is a very easy way to eat, and it gets rid of a lot of noise. We have Coach Haley, who deals with women's issues and allows women a safe space to get rid of. Well,
I absolutely adored Haley's program. So I spent about 6 weeks with Haley. She has a very soft, kind way of, when we think of health coaches, we think of, oh, we're going to get this workout program, and this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to have to. She doesn't start there. She goes even farther down. Like, she starts on that emotional level, journaling, grounding, meditating, and a lot of people's blocks have nothing to do with food, really, or exercise. There's a lot of emotional baggage, and she's very good about exercising, not only helping you learn to exercise your body, eat better, but really unloading your mind.
And realize this, and I'm the father of 3 daughters. The statistic is 30% of all women have been abused. So if that's you, if that has happened to you, there is no shame. It's not your fault. And you do need to work through that. So there is no shame in that whatsoever. I think 10 to 15% of men have been abused.
I mean,
And
that's not where I was going with it, but
but there's a lot of women that we counsel at the clinic, and they have this.
But emotional baggage could be just bad relationships. Your mom would, oh, I love you, but, or, your dad, oh, you could do that better. Like whatever. When we talk about emotional baggage, it can be anything.
And those traumas are very personal to the person.
Yes. And it doesn't matter how insignificant or that other people think about that experience. It is very traumatic to the person that had it. So it could be a very traumatic something that happened to you, or it could be words that somebody told you or fed you in the mornings or whatever. If it is affecting you when you in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s or beyond, then she helps you realize and unload that. No matter how little or small to the person, it's huge.
And the thing you got to think about this stuff is this is all very personal, because everybody deals with these stresses and emotions and injustices differently. Just a very simple example of this. She could care less if she runs out of gas.
Zero.
She will run the tank on flipping fumes.
And walk.
Me, because when I was in my 30s, I was broke, and the only way I could make money was if I was at the clinic, and I knew I had to get there, and I didn't risk running low on gas. And so to her, gas is nothing. To me, it's a lot, and it's truly insignificant. You guys are probably laughing at the example, and that's
when
okay.
I was young, I didn't have any money either, so I didn't really have any gas. So I guess maybe I've never had to walk. Well, sometimes I have walked, but my dad used to drill that into my head. Oh my gosh, if you've got less than a half a tank, then you know, and I think that's kind of
might be a male thing.
No, necessarily. Maybe it's a rebellious thing. Like, worst thing that's going to happen to me is I'm going to walk. So it's not something I worry about.
And so what we want to do is teach you about yourself and about the model of vehicle that is you or Jessica or Trevor or whatever. And we know basics of biology and chemistry and how to correct those things.
And we're not psychologists at all.
Yeah, no, that's
and so
instant referral.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that if you were local and you have had a trauma, I mean, those are like, when I'm talking about stuff, that to me is like, that's where the worst that can bad things happen to people. But if you, male or female, and if you've had a trauma, if you've been abused, if you've been a part of a violent crime, we have a beautiful network of individuals.
Deaths in the family.
Range to Recovery.
Yeah.
They are an equine center. They work with abused and battered women, children, but they do work with male and female. They also have a wonderful writing center for people with disabilities. So we have individuals that we have built relationships with, and I helped create that from when it first began, but my friends have carried it over the last 20 years, and they do a really great program, and they actually have a psychologist on staff that actually helps people through that. And so we have people to help there, but Haley works with women, and just a lot of weight, and weight meaning heaviness of the body. The body does
Stress.
hold on to it, carry it, and it's hard to let it go. So she really it individually delves down to how you work or what makes you tick, and helps you unload it, whether it's journaling or whatever.
And so when we talk about these things, this is why we're so passionate, but why when we look at everything and start to point people into the directions that actually gets them health and healing, and then we work on foundational biology and health, and we deal with the microbiome, and we get your body healthy so it can detox, well, then we have people that go from 187 symptoms down to 3.
And then when they bounce back up to 5, they think the world has crashed, and they have started it. And I always giggle because I remember the people that come into the first visit with their bags of vitamins or pills or whatever, and the way they look and their pallor and the way their hair looks, and I like the whole person, and I remember how they felt, and the tears that they wept because they're sharing all of this with us and they are hopeless. And then, we follow them for months, and sometimes we have them for a couple years, and they go from these really high symptoms to these maybe 2 or 3, and then they hit a 5 or a 7, and they think their whole world is bottomed out, but they forget how bad they actually felt. But when and then they feel so good that even when they just slide back just a little bit, like they imagine that they feel that bad again, and they're nowhere close to it.
Well, and it's the beat dog syndrome too, because I have felt like crap, and I don't want to go back there.
But they are nowhere near that person.
Yeah.
And they're
and
really,
they come right out of it.
They really are 2 different people. Like when you look at I wish we would take pictures of people when they first show up, and then what they look like, at 3 months, 6 months, whatever, because they are totally different people. Their energy is different. Like that vibe they put out is different. The way they carry themselves is different, and their relationships
are better.
Are when they bring in their spouse, and you can see that relationship really strengthen. It's pretty cool.
And that's why we do what we do. I know this is a bit of a long one, but functional medicine fails when we as functional medicine providers treat it like allopathic medicine. Oh, you got high thyroid, here are your things to help your thyroid. Oh, you got diabetes, here are your things to resensitize your cells to insulin. Oh, you have pain, here's your omega-3 fish oils and stuff. When you give pill for an ill, and you really don't take time to sit down and learn the person as a practitioner, that's why it fails. That's why we see a lot of people from other practitioners.
Well, and also you are such a complex being. So your thyroid is connected to all kinds of things. But it is a very slow process. You have to untangle the things that are going wrong. And we get a beautiful picture, so we don't have to start way over here. Like we get a beautiful picture, so we're going to start from here. But there's still a tangled mess that you have to untangle this. And then you have to give the body the things it needs, which also means time, because your body has to have time to heal itself.
Well, that, and you don't live in a bubble. So it's not like you're going to start this process of healing and nothing else is going to happen to you. You're not going to get the flu, or you're not going to get sick, or you're not going to have a dog die, or you're not going to have a family member die, or what.
There's setbacks.
Yeah.
Life is life.
Life is going to throw you a curve.
I used to get really upset about the things that happen, like, oh my gosh, I've been a single mom. My car didn't work. I need new tires. There's no money for the electric bill. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I guess we try to share our personal experiences, but it's a thought process. It's how you look at the world. Are you going to look at the world and it's ugly, or are you going to look at the world and it's beautiful? So instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff that's going wrong, I have, then it's a big deal. For me, it's also a big deal because it's a big shift. It's oh, well, I have a car and it needs new tires, but I have a job. I just going to have to save. Like it's a mindset thing. So when you start feeling better, your mind shifts and the way you think about things shifts. So instead of looking at the negatives and how am I going to deal with this, I always tell everybody, well, at least you're living. It's just the way you look at it. So look at it differently. Instead of, I don't have, look what you do have. Well, my car is not working right. That's great, but you have a car. So we really share mindset. Like, think about it differently, and then you unload it a little bit and you take and bite it off into little bits.
And so, if you're watching this and you're one of our chiropractic patients and you're not progressing, well, there are other things you can do. If you're a functional medicine patient and you're watching this, you can see how passionate we are about it. This was supposed to be 15 minutes long and we're 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
This is what we love doing and how we love helping people. And it's great when we see people have hope. And the great thing is your body wants to heal. That's the key here is you can have your doubts, but if you start doing the right things, your body starts to heal because all the little microbes that are inside you that depend on you, they don't want to die. And even if you're Debbie Downer or whatever euphemism you want to say, if you start doing the right things, everything starts to come back online. And you have neurotransmitters and you have the hormones and you have the gut bugs and you have the short chain fatty acids and now you have the hormones and now you have, we have had some of the most difficult patients who didn't want to come in, didn't want to do the MSQs, and we worked with them. We worked with them, and even though they disappeared for quite a while and we just thought they were just gone, they call in and they're like, Dr. Miller, I'm feeling better and I'm ready for the next step.
Well, so you really have to have, for me, functional medicine, when I look at it, you're always learning.
Uh-huh.
So as practitioners, as a nurse, we're always learning, and not only just about our passions and functional medicine and the hormones and the gut and the holome. If you want to really get nerdy, go research the holome because that's just absolutely fascinating. But we teach you to always be learning about yourself, your others around you, and then your environment. And so in functional medicine, we kind of put that hand in hand with like medicine or MDs, or we kind of, it's either or, but it's really, working together. But it's not even, for me, functional medicine used to be about how we treated our bodies, but it's actually grown into like our lifestyle. And so it trickles out. So it's about learning to work with the dirt. It's about growing your food. It's about your interactions with animals. It's about learning to be a part of nature and treating and helping yourself with what you have.
Yep.
Which is old school medicine.
Yeah.
This is how we used to live. This is the beginning of medicine. And it's interesting to see it come full circle. And we're back to nature, herbs, vitamins, using the earth to heal our bodies. And their minds.
And that's what it's all about.
Oh, tidbit, talking about that. Dirt. Go put your hands in the dirt. Like, go plant a little garden, because the microbes interact with the microbe. So your microbes in your body react to the microbes in the ground, and you create your own happy.
And just checking. We will see you at your next appointment, or if you need help, you can look us up on Integrated Health of Indiana. If you have questions about chiropractic, fire off those questions. If you have questions about functional medicine, we are here to help.
And remember, our patients are 0 to 100 plus.
Yeah.
Like, we have patients that are 1 year, 2 years old.
Oh no, we have
Well, I'm
weeks
talking
old.
about functional medicine, but we've had babies.
Yeah.
And they go all the way up until whenever you choose to leave.
Yep. So you have a great night, and we'll see you soon.